Hello friends, today I am going to discuss the poem The Gifts of God by George Herbert. The Gifts of God is a famous poem by George Herbert, a great metaphysical poet of the 17th century. Herbert's poetry displays humility, self-effacement, simple piety, and perfect Christian faith. It is rich in ingenious imagery and transparent conceits that are well controlled and easy to follow. It has didactic strain saturated with a current of quaint humor. It is plain, direct, and harmonious. It is very appealing. It is always characterized by lyrical grace. So, at first, I would like to explain or analyze the text. You must concentrate on the text which I am going to explain. When God at first made man, having a glass of blessings standing by, the poet is religious and he is emphasizing the time when God has just created man. When at first God created man, he wanted to give the riches of the world to man. So the moment he created man, he had a glass nearby him. The glass was full of blessings. Actually, those blessings were at first dispersed in the cosmos. God contracted those blessings into that glass. Let us, said he, pour on him all we can. Here, God is talking to man. God is speaking, said he with capital H. The poet seems to be in touch with God. God proposes that he wanted to give all the riches of the world to man, the newly created creature. Let the world's riches which dispersed lie contract into a span. Actually, God wanted to give those blessings, pour those blessings into the lifespan of man. So, in the first paragraph, we find a proposal from God to man that all the riches of the world should be given to man. So a strength first made a way. Actually, those blessings were in the form of liquid that was kept in the glass, which was nearby or beside God. So God started pouring the glass, God started bestowing those blessings to man. At first came out a strength from that glass and was given to man. Then beauty flowed, then wisdom, honor, pleasure. After strength came beauty, wisdom, honor, and pleasure. When almost all was out, God made a stay. God was pouring all the blessings, all the riches, but suddenly an idea came to the mind of God and he stopped pouring the glass. Almost all was given to man, perceiving that alone of all his treasure rest in the bottom lay. Rest was not given to man. When God stopped pouring those blessings, suddenly an idea came to his mind, hit his brain, and he stopped pouring the blessings and rest in the bottom lay. Here the poet plays a pun on the word rest. Rest means peace, and rest means what was not given, what was in the bottom of the glass. So the poet is playing upon the double meaning of the word rest. Rest was denied to man, rest was not given to man. You may call rest peace, you may call rest what was left in the glass. Actually, peace, contentment was not given to man, it was left in the bottom of the glass. God gave all the things, all the jewels from his treasure to man, but he denied rest or peace or contentment or satisfaction to man. There must be some kind of logic, there must be some kind of thinking in the mind of God. That's why he did not give or bestow that to man. Now, in the third paragraph, for if I should, said he with capital H, bestow this jewel also on my creature, he should adore my gifts instead of me. See, why rest was not given to man? God thought that if he would give or if he had given all the pleasures or all the blessings, including rest to man, what would happen? Man would start adoring or praising or worshipping the gifts given by him, forgetting God. And in that case, both of them would be losers. God would lose the devotion from man, the newly created creature, and man would lose the blessings of God. Man would lose the nearness of God. So, in that case, both of them would be losers because man would forget God, and instead of worshipping God, he would start worshipping the gifts given by him. That's why rest was denied to man, rest was not given to man. And rest in nature, not the God of nature. So both should losers be. So both of them should be losers. In that case, if man was given rest, so rest was not given to man. See, all those blessings which were given to man may lead man to forget God. And one thing that was denied may lead him to God. That will compel man to remember God, to worship God. So rest was not given to man. Yet let him keep the rest, but keep them with repining restlessness. So God says, let man have all the blessings, beauty, strength, honor, pleasure, but with repining restlessness. But man would always be restless. Man would always be dissatisfied. And this dissatisfaction, this discontentment will toss man to God, will compel man to remember God. Then what would happen? It means all those pleasures, all those material pleasures, all those material blessings will lead man to a spiritual loss. So this weariness, this dissatisfaction will uplift man near God. So what is the sole um, idea of a religious person? To meet God. You know, George Herbert is a religious poet. So he wants the union of man and God. That's why he says that this discontentment or this dissatisfaction will toss man to near God, and God would impress him. Let him be rich and weary, that at last, if goodness lead him not, yet weariness may toss him to my breast. So God wants man to remember him, to worship him. So all those qualities, all those blessings may not lead man to God. This denial of rest leads man to God. So here this restlessness acts as a pulley. The pulley is a mechanical device which uplifts something to upwards. It is also called a metaphysical conceit. The another title of the poem is The Pulley. Apparently, there seems to be no correlation between the gifts of God and the pulley. But when we try to understand it, we find that this restlessness acts as a pulley. So, now to summarize the poem, I would say this poem, The Gifts of God, which is also called the pulley, explores God's majesty and significance of discontent in man's uplift. The poet says that God made man and bestowed upon him different blessings while creating him. He had by himself a glass of blessings. Those blessings were a strength, beauty, wisdom, honor, and pleasure. These blessings are indeed the riches of the world. That is, God concentrated all things within the brief span of man's life. However, He did not give rest that lay in the bottom of the glass. He did so according to His wise scheme. God thought that if rest was also given to man, man would start praising his gifts, adoring his gifts instead of God himself. Then both God and man would be losers. That is, man would forget his creator. It would mean his spiritual degeneration. So he should be wealthy but weary or restless also. Being dissatisfied, he would remember God. In other words, goodness may not raise him to God, but weariness must toss him to his breast. God would then embrace him. That is, he would be saved from degenerating to meanness of materialism. He would surely be lifted up by his discontentment. Thus, the pulley symbolizes weariness or restlessness of mankind. As a pulley helps drawing something up from below, discontentment serves as a means of uplifting man spiritually. The idea is religious, but the means or the image used to convey it is essentially secular. That is, the poet expresses his religious contention by employing metaphysical concepts. On the whole, the poem glorifies spiritualism against mean materialism. It expresses the poet's spiritual and religious aptitude and critical sensibility. It is marked by witty punning and explicit reasoning. It has brevity and compactness. The pauses used in it denote balance of expression. The balance between hard and soft consonants and their alliterative use make the lines musical. To crown all, the whole poem is characterized by reasonableness and lyrical grace. Thank you.